Just a few hours ago, I was backing up my car and scratched the rear bumper of the car behind me. And of course, my first instinct was, oh, what the fuck? But then something shifted almost immediately. And instead of spiraling into stress and self blame, I just dealt with it calmly and practically. Like it was just another thing that happened. And the reason I could do that comes down to one belief that completely changed how I move through the world. I don't believe in free will. Most people believe we're the authors of our own lives. You know, that we make choices and those choices shape what happens to us. That if something goes wrong, we could have done something differently. I used to believe that too, but after sitting with this idea for a long time, I've come to a different conclusion. We're not doers, we're observers. Audiences of one giant movie that was already written before we got here. I believe everything that has happened, is happening, and will happen was always going to happen exactly this way. I know how that sounds. Stick with me. So, when I scratched that car, my brain did something it never used to do. Instead of thinking, how could I be so stupid, or why does this always happen to me? Something in me just went, this is part of the story. This is how this chapter goes. And immediately, I felt relief. Not because the situation got better. The scratch was still there. I still had to deal with it. But the weight of it, that crushing sense that I had failed somehow, that I should have known better, that just disappeared. Because if everything is predetermined, there was nothing I could have done differently. It was always going to happen exactly like that. At that exact moment, in that exact parking lot. So why punish myself for it? Now, I know what you're thinking. If nothing is in my control, why try at all? Why make any effort? Why not just sit on the couch and wait for life to happen? That's the most common objection to this idea, and it sounds logical, but here's what I've actually experienced. It's actually the opposite. When I stopped carrying the weight of every outcome, I paradoxically started showing up better because I wasn't paralyzed by the fear of making the wrong choice. I wasn't stuck in my head replaying what I should have done. I was just present, doing the next thing in front of me. The actor in a movie still performs their role fully, right? They just don't write the script. And that's how I think about it. I still show up, I still try, I still make decisions. I just don't pretend I'm in control of how it all turns out. And that distinction between effort and attachment to outcome, that's where the freedom lives. I think a lot of the stress people carry, myself included, comes from this gap between what we expected and what actually happened. We expect the parking to go smoothly. It doesn't. We expected the relationship to last. It didn't. We expected the project to succeed. It failed. And we torture ourselves in that gap. Asking why, blaming ourselves, replaying the moment we think we could have changed everything. But what if there was no moment to change? What if it was always going to go exactly this way? And that question used to feel terrifying to me. And now it feels like the most comforting thing I know. Not because it means nothing matters, but because it means I can stop fighting reality and just live inside it. So, how do you actually apply this in a stressful moment? For me, it's just one sentence. When something goes wrong and I feel that familiar tightening in my chest, I just say to myself, this was always going to happen. That's it. 5 words. And something in my nervous system just releases. Because the argument is over before it starts. There's no negotiating with reality, no alternate timeline where I made the right call and everything worked out. This is the timeline and this is the chapter. And once I accept that, I can actually deal with what's in front of me clearly and calmly without all the noise. I know this belief isn't for everyone. Some people find it uncomfortable. Some might find it even cynical. But I find it freeing. Ironically, and I mean this sincerely, I feel more free now that I don't believe in free will. Because I'm not carrying the weight of every outcome anymore. I'm not the author responsible for everything that goes wrong. I'm just someone living through a story that's already unfolding. So the car scratch got handled. The day moved on and I didn't lose an hour of my life to guilt and self-criticism. And that felt like enough. Maybe that's what a bulletproof mentality actually is. Not that nothing gets to you, but that nothing gets to stay.